Now, I'm joined with Oz to chat over a recent game night we had, talk about the games. First up, we had Radlands, which is a two-player card game, battling game where it's a post-apocalyptic world. You're trying to battle using water as a resource and trying to defeat the enemy's camp. This is the first time we'd played it and we were sort of learning together. Oz, what did you think about the game?
It was good. I liked the art and the theme of it being kind of like Mad Max-ish. Yeah, it had some interesting concepts that I wasn't used to before, like putting things in front of things you want to protect as kind of a barrier before they can attack it and that kind of thing.
Yeah, because you each had 3 camps which also had abilities, but you were trying to protect those camps by putting things in, like your guys in front, which also had, they were defending, but they also had, you could activate them as well to do things.
Yeah.
And had an interesting action mechanic, which is like how you played your cards that weren't guys on the table, in that it had like a 3-2-1-0 queue.
Yeah,
so
you could prepare things to be coming later, and it was kind of like there's something moving along in the background that you had to watch if your opponent had that.
It's like, oh, Oz got this big effect, but it's 3 turns. How can I try to mitigate that in the meantime? I think we did play it a little bit wrong when we were learning, because we kind of looked through the eyes of Magic players, having played for a long time, that you kind of think, okay, that's how things are going to work. It's like, oh no, this is a different game system designed by different people. Whoops.
Whoops.
But it was still fun.
Yeah, it was still fun.
Yeah.
It was really good. Yeah.
After that, we had some other people join us, and we played a mission in Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, which is sort of the smaller version of the big Gloomhaven box. It's a dungeon crawler or a dungeon runner, where it's a card system, which is kind of really interesting. You played a campaign with your son. I'm playing a solo campaign. We've also got this group of 4. That the hardest thing about the game is not the game, it's the scheduling. But
yes.
What are your thoughts on Gloomhaven?
As you said, I played it with my son, and as a 2-player experience, that was really good. But the 4-player experience is like another level. It's like, I've got this plan, and if I'm quick enough, I can get it off. And then it's like someone does something. Oh, I can't do that anymore. Okay, I've got to use this card in a different way and this card in a different way to use up my turn the most effectively as I can. And it's a lot of that with the 4-player, where it's not as much as that as a 2-player.
Yeah, because you can't necessarily talk about like, oh, I'm going to do like initiative order, like I'm going to do this number. You sort of, you go like fast or slow, medium, and then, but it's also like, okay, I got to this would be cool to do, but I've got backups because each card has a top and bottom, so you have to do one top, one bottom, so you can kind of change it around.
Yeah.
So you have to sort of be flexible.
Yeah.
Especially when you have 4 players plus a group of monsters, you don't know what order things are going to be.
Yes.
So that sort of becomes its own sort of challenge.
It is. It's really fun challenge too, because it's like, okay, I can heal these people if they stay within 2 of me, and then suddenly they just go running in every direction. Okay, I guess I'm just moving and attacking this guy. It's like,
So you got to be flexible. Then after that, once we finished that campaign and we beat it by the skin of our teeth, it was the last turn that we were going to be able to. We then played Dune Imperium with the Rise of X expansion. Dune Imperium is my favorite game. It's a really great deck building, worker placement, conflict game based on the new movie. That all 3 sort of really integrate together, and it's sort of one of those games where it feels quite tight in how you would play. That you often, if you're focused on deck building, then you go to like use the cards to your worker placement spots, and you're like, oh, these cards are, I can buy stuff, but I can't go to that spot anymore because I don't have the card in hand.
Yeah, I find it a very complex game, and I've come last, I think, in every time we've played it, and it's because I'm still trying to get my head around watching the worker placement, playing the right card when I place the workers, playing the right card when I want to buy stuff.
To buy better cards.
And then we added the Rise of X, was it? And that just added another complexity to do it. So felt like I was catching up, and then we added an expansion. It's like, I'm just behind again.
Well, yeah, so Rise of X adds a little tech track, which is only 3, but it's like when to go up, when to sort of like collect your rewards, and then it adds some tech you can buy, which I really like. I think it adds some nice things. It changes some spots up a little bit. I think it makes money a little bit tighter, but everything else a little bit more flexible, so that's kind of cool. But in saying that, there's another expansion that just came out.
Of course there is.
Yeah. In 2022, they released 2 expansions. So there's a bunch of people who are doing their best expansion of the year list, and it's both of them are on the list.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that.
It's still a great game. Like, I enjoyed playing it. It's just, I'm still not caught up with managing everything at once. Like you and obviously Shane is.
Yeah, annoyingly enough, one of my friends, Shane, has won every game of June Imperium, and this time me and him were tied, but he had one of the intrigue cards that says you win tiebreakers, so he won that tiebreaker and is now still undefeated. Now, we had that, it was getting late at night, and rather than our traditional thing to do is, if it's, it's 11:30, 12, let's start another big game, we decided to break that tradition, and we played a small little card game called Bonanza. Which is a sort of set collection / trading game where you're trying to get different types of beans that then you can sell for different amounts of money. And you need a certain amount of different types of beans. The more beans there are in the deck, the more that you need to collect before you can sell them. Where some of them, there might only be 4 that you could sell 2 and get quite a bit of money. So it's an interesting sort of set collection. It's really the hand management is an interesting part of it.
And that's another thing coming from a Magic background. Like, we were just shuffling our cards. It's like, no, don't shuffle your cards.
Yeah. The order's very important because you can like plant a bean or 2, and then you have to, if you had a bad card in hand, you have to like work hard to trade that away so it didn't impact playing. So this is a really interesting element. I really like it a lot. I think it plays better at 3 than a 4.
It seemed to play all right at 4 though.
It gives you more people to trade with, so that's all right.
And I like the mechanic that, this bean, there's heaps of them, but they're not worth much if you sell 8 of them. But this one is a rare bean. If you can get 2 of them, it'll get you a lot of points towards the end game.
Okay, so now we're going to go through those 4 games we played. Would you want to own it, like have it in your collection and have access to it? Would you be happy to play it, or would you be happy to avoid it? So we'll start off with Radlands.
I'd be happy to own that. That was fun, and like as you said, we weren't playing it correctly, and it was just minor things we weren't playing correctly, but it was still fun, and it was still very even though we weren't playing it correctly at the time. Yeah,
it's been out for a little while now, but I can't imagine they're not going to do expansions, because it'll be it's a self-contained little game that you've got the shared deck you're working off, and there's some flexibility on what sort of cards you have, but I can see them adding more to it, but as it is its own little box, it's pretty good. I got it in a trade and I really like it.
And the mechanic of throwing something away for an effect rather than playing it is really good too.
Yeah, dual use cards are nice.
Yeah.
Now, we both have Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. You've gone through the campaign.
Yeah.
What I'll ask is, having played Jaws of the Lion through with your 2-player campaign and then playing a bunch of 4-player, would you want to own the big box one, Gloomhaven or Frosthaven?
I have been so tempted to buy the big one. I don't know much about Frosthaven, and probably don't tell me about it because I'm about to move.
Yep. It's heavy.
But yeah, I've looked at it in game stores and but yeah, the tile management might turn me off a little bit.
Yeah,
because I do like
the maps of the book is a bit easier.
The simpler version of Jaws of the Lion. But yeah, I think I'd be interested in the 20 other characters in the...
Yeah, there's quite a lot.
Yeah.
June Imperium?
I like it, but it's probably not something I would own, but I do like playing it with others. It's just because it's one of those 4-5 player kind of big games.
Yeah. And then finally Bonanza?
I liked it, but I probably wouldn't buy it.
Yeah, just have... I own all those games, so they're going to stay in my collection. And that was Oz. Thank you very much for talking about one of our game nights.
You're welcome.